Hello, Cancer. With the moon square Saturn on the 1st, April Fool's Day, you're going to be the butt of April Fool's Day jokes. So heads up for that. Also, on the 4th of April this month, there is a total lunar eclipse in Libra, and it's a blood moon. So we're going to give you a lot of information about that. It's going to be an astounding month. Now, let's see how your ruling planet of the moon affects you this month, Cancer. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. Thank you for joining us. This is an angelic horoscope transmission from your Cancer angel Muriel, who resides over your cardinal water nature. And these are his messages for you in love, money, and health. First, of course, the love transmission, the most important. This is a transmission that comes through from your guardian angel, Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel, archangel of water. And he teaches you specifically the aspect of cardinal water of Cancer through the teaching angel of Muriel. So if you want to pray for something, pray to Gabriel, your guardian. If you want to learn something and understand something, like understand how to interpret your dreams and things like that, then you have to pay attention to your teaching angel, Muriel. And if you want to be helpful to others, you have to call on Muriel. So basically, Gabriel will help you. Muriel will help you understand so that you can then help others. That's how that works. Regarding what's going on the 4th with the blood moon, it's the 3rd blood moon in the tetrad. The next one takes place in September. These are very intense. It happens a day before Easter Sunday. And because it happens on this Passover holiday, what happens is that brings difficulty to the land of Israel. A lunar eclipse is difficult for the land of Israel, where a solar eclipse is difficult for the nations surrounding Israel. And what does that mean for you? That means that the soul is represented by Israel in Scripture, and that means that the soul is going to have difficulty on the 4th. When there's a solar eclipse, when that happens, there's difficulty with the ego. So you understand. So this is not going to affect your ego, because it's a lunar eclipse. It's going to affect your soul, and it can be difficult. So you want to be aware of that. Okay. On the 18th, there is a new moon in Aries. And because of all of these different aspects, this month, people are going to have their will frustrated. So with the total lunar eclipse, people are going to want vengeance, retribution, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You need to understand that. That's going to be coming at you because you're ruled by what? By the moon. Understand that. And understand it's not your ego they're going to come at. They're going to come at your soul. That's the difference. All right. Now, the fact that this total lunar eclipse is in Libra, how is that going to affect you? Well, your teaching angel Muriel wants you to understand that the way it's going to affect you is that the scales are going to be balanced, because Libra balances. So there's going to be people who want karmic or judicial retribution. Again, people want an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And they're not going at your ego, they're going at your soul. So this is going to be something that could cut a little too close to the bone. It could get bloody because it's a blood moon. You don't want to let people get at you that much. It doesn't mean that you put such a shell up around yourself that you cannot relate to anybody, because if you do too much of that, then loneliness is going to take over and they'll be able to get at you worse. What you want to do is because the crab has an exoskeleton, again, you want to have a little bit of a endoskeleton birth within you, sort of an inner strength. that your fellow water signs Pisces have, because a fish obviously has an endoskeleton. So you can learn some of that from Pisces individuals, friends, and relatives. This is how you're going to get through these romantic aspects that might actually go after your very soul. All right? This month. Especially after this blood moon in Libra. Now, how is this new moon in Aries going to affect you, Cancer? How it's going to affect you is that the willpower and the will you have to fight for what you believe in is going to be like, kind of have a damper put on it, like somebody threw a wet blanket over it. It's going to feel like you're unable to build that fire, to move forward, but you need to use that time again to build that inner endoskeleton so that you don't have to build up such an hard exterior. You want to be able to have more pliability externally and less pliability internally. So you want to diminish the ego and strengthen the soul. And that's going to be a real test for you. So remember, your Pisces, friends, family, those are going to be the people that will help you with your love life and be able to grow that strong endoskeleton that you're going to need in your soul to be able to withstand this blood moon. And the next one comes in September, so everybody needs to be ready. Okay, remember, it's the third in the tetrad. It's very important. Now, on the 18th, there's also a moon conjunct Uranus, and that's going to cause people to get in touch with their more philosophical side, and that will help. That will help a lot. Now, how is this going to affect your money? Your money is going to be affected in that this blood moon is, because again, it's going for the soul, not the ego. People's egos are being fed. So that means that there's going to be so many stars in the heavens that they're going to have to actually travel apart from each other. Because if you have too many stars clumped together, it really, life cannot exist. And that's what causes the expansion to occur. And when the expansion occurs, people start moving away from each other because they want to shine more brightly. And if there's too many stars around them, they cannot shine, correct? So they have to move to places where there's not so many stars so they can shine more brightly and gather their own planets, asteroids, moons, yada yada, around the planets. So they can gather their own solar system around themselves, you understand. Now, this, again, will have the tendency to cause people to become isolated and lonely. And that is the very definition of hell. If you read C.S. Lewis, The Great Divorce, where they take you on a bus trip from heaven to hell, and the people in heaven visit hell and the people in hell visit heaven, you'll find out that in this kind of thing, what is the actual definition of hell? Extreme separation due to ego and extreme isolation and loneliness. The more you have science, the more you have an inability to understand. The more you have medicine, the more diseases you have. The more warriors you have, the more war you have. The more police you have, the more crime. The more communication devices you have, the less communication. This is what's going on, and that is the very definition of hell, is it not? So be aware of that. And again, understand that your ego is going to be fed, but your soul is going to get hurt. All right. Now for your health transmission from your teaching angel Muriel, speaking to you through your guardian Gabriel. what you want to do is avoid any kind of invasive procedure on the 13th, because the 13th is a moon opposing Jupiter, and Jupiter is in charge of health and wealth. Not a good day to get into it with invasive procedures or even pay for any kind of intense health care in any way. It's just that day, you want to avoid that. On the 13th, the moon opposing Jupiter. Avoid invasive procedures and also avoid big financial deals or financial deals that involve anything about healthcare. We're just talking about that day. Okay. Now, on the 21st, we have a moon opposing Saturn. And that's going to cause laws to get in the way of feelings and the subconscious will. Now, the subconscious has a will of its own, as does the unconscious. And the unconscious always wins because it's the will of the many. The subconscious always wins over the conscious mind, too, because that is the group soul or your oversoul. So what you want to do is try to get more in touch with your dreams. Try to understand them, because if you wait until the 30th, then a lot of the sort of emotional dyspepsia, if you will, that's been going on because of some of these aspects and all of these blood moons, because this has been going on, it's been upsetting for the tummy and just, the general indigestion of the energetics of the solar system. So you're going to have some relief from that on the 30th, moon trine Mercury. And that's because the mind and the subconscious, the conscious, and the oversoul will be more in alignment and more in unification. Your id, your ego, and your superego will all line up. And when things line up, that's when you get what you want. And again, that's going to happen on the 30th of April. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about why people don't get what they want in love, in money, in health. Why don't people get what they want? That's because their cauldrons of the belly and the heart and the mind aren't in alignment. They're not congruent. They don't agree with each other. That means that part of you wants it and another part of you doesn't. The conscious mind really has no way of making anything happen. What you have to do is get the unconscious to listen to the subconscious to manufacture that for you so the conscious mind can enjoy it. So the id, the child, has to talk to the superego, and then the superego manifests it for the ego, and that's how you make things happen. And that's what you call magic, or miracles, or just plain how to reprogram your own inner software. And it works every time. That is your health transmission, because it's going to let you in on a little secret that 96% of all ailments are psychosomatic. And you can heal just about anything when you get to the root of the problem. Okay. And now for your Afterglow, Cancer, we're going to go over some of the facets, the planetary aspects occurring this month of April, so they can be highlighted for you so you can have a heads up. On the 1st, April Fool's Day, there's a moon square Saturn, and Luna is opposing Neptune. Remember that Saturn rules over Aquarius and Capricorn, and Neptune rules over Pisces. So there might be some game playing and April Fool's pranks between you and these signs, going both ways. So be careful of that. On the 2nd, moon trine Venus. On the 4th, there is a blood moon in Libra. A total lunar eclipse again that affects the soul. And that's going to be again on the 4th. It's the 3rd blood moon in the tetrad. The next one is going to happen in September of this year. These are very important events. That's the day before Easter Sunday. It's on Passover. On the 6th is a moon square Jupiter. Now on the 6th, Jupiter is still retrograde in Leo. It doesn't go direct in Leo. Jupiter goes direct in Leo on the 8th, and there's a moon conjunct Saturn on the 8th. So the 8th will be a very good day that eases up the energies from all the difficult energies that might have been felt on the 6th. On the 9th, the moon is trine the sun, and that's a very auspicious day. Moon trine sun is always auspicious. On the 11th, the moon is trine Mars. On the 13th, the moon opposes Jupiter, a bad day for invasive procedures. On the 18th, there's a new moon in Aries. On the 21st, the moon opposes Saturn. And on the 30th, the moon is trine Mercury. That's a good day. All right, Cancer. This is your angelic horoscope transmission from your guardian angel Gabriel and your teaching angel Muriel. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the astrology angel. Thank you for joining us, and join us again next month.